Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. We're back with the beginner series right here, premium.busyworksbeats.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make any beat better using one simple approach. One simple approach. Once you understand this, everything will change. It's because you're taught in one way. I'm going to show you a completely opposite way to think about making beats. Subscribe if you're new, and let's hop right into the DAW. We're going to use FL Studio to demonstrate today, but this applies to all the DAWs. So the principle here is that instead of adding sound to the beat, we're going to remove the sound away from the beat. Okay, so you're taught to boost everything, boost 60 hertz, boost 5K, boost this, add a compressor. What if we take away sound? What if we take away volume? It will clean up everything else and everything else will be pronounced. So that's the biggest mistake is we're sold plugins that add brightness and add all these things. What about plugins that just simply take away? They're not as glamorous, but they do a great job. So in this case, we're going to use the FabFilter Pro MB. You can use any multi-band compressor. You can use the C6 from Waves. FabFilter Pro MB is my favorite. You can use the iZotope Dynamics plugin. FL has a multi-band. I don't like it. You have, what else? There's Pro Tools stuff you could use. Just Google multi-band compressor and like whatever one comes up that you like, that you can afford. Okay, so the first one we're going to pull up is the first beat we're going to work on is a drill beat. So not only do people think about adding stuff, they don't think about mid information, meaning mono, and they don't think about side information. So what I'm going to do here is figure out a quick way. I think let's open up the iZotope stuff because they have a quick button I could just press. You don't need this plugin to do what I'm doing. I'm just doing this for video purposes. What I'm going to do is show you the difference between the mono sound and then the stereo sound. I think I still picked the wrong plugin, didn't I? Over here. So let's just monitor the middle information. So this is only the stuff in the middle position. Mono means one directional. It could be pan to the left, it could be pan to the right. Middle is the middle, it's pan middle. Okay, it's only one signal, pan middle. That's why it sounds very linear and hollow. So when you're listening to your beat, think mid-side information because most of us neglect the side information. We neglect all those frequencies building up that we don't necessarily need to build with on the side. Okay, or we're lacking side energy. So let's listen to the mono mix first. I'm really trying to drill this in so you understand the difference. Once you hear this, you're like, oh, that's what my beat was missing. So listen to the mid. Now let's solo the sides. Look how much activity is happening on the side. You can hear the 808, you can hear the distortion. The whole beat lives in the side. So what happens if I flip it back? You don't hear a lot of that saturation. You don't hear the 808. Let me go to that section of the song too. Make sure. There we go. Okay, let's switch it back to the side. Do we need all that information in the side? Probably not. So that's why I'm going to show you how to do this with Pro MB. So you might not know that this is also, you can do mid-side mode on this plugin. A lot of people overlook it. So what I'm going to do is find the zone that I don't necessarily like in the beat. It's usually from 250 to 400 hertz. So let's start there. You can hear this is where all that sound, it sounds like this. This is where all these frequencies rest. Now the reason it's not just because it sounds like this, it's because all the instruments usually overlap at 300 hertz. My voice, if you look at the graph of my voice goes all the way down to, let's say, 100 hertz or somewhere around 100 hertz. Now, a girl's voice might go all the way down to 200 hertz, so it doesn't go to 60 hertz. So my voice can live at 60 hertz, and only until it reaches the 200 hertz do we have overlap. So a lot of instruments, whether it's guitar, bass, drums, tuba, they usually overlap at that 200 hertz element. And so everything's trying to stack into one place. This is where we want to just pull stuff down because this is where a lot of energy builds up because of all those instruments stacking in that one place. So this is why you want to check between 200 and about 400 hertz. You don't always need to do this, but just check here. So this is that kind of woofy sound, that woof, hand over the mouth type of sound. Okay, so I'm just going to move this around just to double check. Now, below 200 is the bass. Now for this song, I'm going to say about 330 hertz is the target frequency where everything kind of tries to stack up. So what I'm going to do now is not just leave it on this mode. By default, this is set to pull it down with a range of 6 dB, so it won't pull anything out further than 6 dB. I'm going to switch this to 3 dB, so we're going to put -3 So the maximum that the compressor will pull out is 3 dB. The reason we focus on 3 in the audio engineering books, it tells you that every 3 dB, the volume halves. So that's why a lot of people tell you like 3 dB is usually their marking point. It's because the volume keeps halving every 3 dB. So if you go down 3 dB, it's half the volume. Go down another 3, it's half. I think it's either 3 or 6. I'm forgetting the exact number. Just reference your audio engineering books. Okay, but that's the philosophy as to why people pull it out 3 dB. Okay, so you might not hear this until I make it super dramatic. Let's make this super drastic so you can hear what's actually happening. So every time the song hits that frequency range and it hits above a certain point called a threshold, every time it trips that wire, this pulls it down with a maximum of 12 dB. In this case, let's pull this back to 3. So we're back in our range. Now, again, most people only think about the left and the right ear. What about the middle frequencies and then the side frequencies? So let's switch this. If you go to expert mode, you can actually switch this. This little thing here, it took me a while to understand, but basically if you pull it all the way to the right, you can make it solo something. So in this case, it's going to solo just the mid directional signal. A solo. So this is just mono direct signal in this frequency range. Now what happens if we switch it to the side mode? Oh, you know what? I'm not hitting the audition button. I hit the solo button. That's a whole different button. So let's do that one more time. You have to use this audition button here. This is the middle. Switch it to side. So now I can hear all those frequencies that we don't necessarily need there. So now I'm going to sweep the sides and figure out which frequencies can we pull out that we don't necessarily need on the side. Like, do we really need 180 on the side? This is where a lot of overlap. You hear the vocal, the piano, you hear the bass. That's where a lot of clutter happens. So now we can pull down this threshold a little bit. And the range is still -3. Okay, let's unaudition this so we can hear the whole track. So again, it's not the most glamorous thing, but what this does is it tightens up your track. So here's before. Here's on. It's hard to hear, I guess. So what I'm going to do is exaggerate this because for beginners, subtle differences are not heard. So let's do -8. Let's just exaggerate this big time. And what I'll do is I'll extend the range so you'll really hear the bass get removed from the side. So listen to the bass on the left and the right here. And then from this point, once you have that under control, now I would never push it that hard. I'm just using that as an example. But once you have it under control, now you can go in and then boost this. So now you can go into your output or use a different plugin and just turn up the volume. Now you have room. Okay, so that's just one song. Let's go to a different song just to show you how important this is. That song had a lot of saturation in it. Okay, let's go to this completely different song here. Let's check where the energy is on this song. Let's go mono and then switch it to the side. Let's focus on the mid. Let's switch it to the side. So this track doesn't really live in the side. The side is used for different effects like chorus and phasing. So we really, on this track, the main attraction is the middle. So let's open up that multi-band compressor again, and let's just reset this. Now we're gonna solo this, and I'm gonna move quicker now, because now you understand what I'm doing. Go to audition, we're gonna go to mid only, and then audition, and find that spot where it's just kind of cluttered. It's like, so we don't really need that part of the vocal. Okay, I like that. So let's pull it.
Now look at my heart. Can you take it up?
So here's another thing I want to add. This is how you add what we learn taking away a lot. But what happens if we add a compressor, but in the opposite direction? Let's expand this now. And now the range, we're going to make it plus 3 dB. And we're going to boost this. So every time it hits a certain threshold, it's going to pull up the volume of the snare. This is where the snare lives. So every time the snare hits, it's going to pull up the volume a little bit.
Can you take it up? Girl, you rape my soul. Tell me where you like to sit.
And again, you can make this only mid or only side. Let's switch it to mid only just to be emphasize mid side. Now let's make another band. Now I'm just getting fancy here. Let's switch this to stereo and try to find a zone that we just want to take care of. Let's pull this down. Keep that under control. It just makes it more linear and feels more smooth. Smoother. Let's A-B this. Here's without. Here's with. Here's without. Here's with. This makes the track feel more linear. Now I'm doing it to my touch, which is very, 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 very not super exaggerated. So let's use a different song.
Currency, the hot.
Again, first test. Let's see how much energy is in the mid and versus the stereo.
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding in the low.
A lot of energy in the mids.
Man.
So the sides really dictate like the size of the room in this track.
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding
A lot of reverb.
For show. Man, have you ever seen great?
And I want the bass to pop out more. So let's go to the sides and let's tame some of those frequencies and then make that bass. Let's give it that expansion. Let's switch it off. Okay, so let's start with the side. Again, moving quicker here. Go to expert, audition, switch this to side. And let's find a zone where we really don't need a lot of buildup. So also you want to check 3K to 4K. That's another zone where it gets really dense with energy and it fights against the main vocal. So let's pull this down. We don't want it to fight against our main vocal, so I'm going to pull that out. Now let's add another curve in here, which is around the bass in this case. Let's solo. And I only want to affect the mids. Let's find the pointy part of that kick. So instead of compressing, let's go to expand mode and let's pull this up 2 dB. We don't want to blow up the speakers.
Currency came.
So now the kick, the frequencies of the bass are going up.
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding in the
Now this song you can hear clear because the kick and the snare are more pronounced.
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding in the low. For show. Man, have you ever seen greatness? It came from the game. I mean, a nigga so elated. We are not cousins, but we brothers in.
I still want to take care of that stereo because it's fighting against the main vocal. It's overshouting the vocalist. So let's figure out a way where we can tame more of that vocal. What I'm going to do is make this compression release at a longer timing so that it holds longer. And also sometimes we're just not pulling out enough dB. Now 12 is pretty exaggerated.
For show, man, have you ever seen greatness? It came from the game. I mean, a nigga so elated. We are not cousins, but we brothers and related.
Feel that kick standing out now?
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding in the low. For show, man, have you ever seen greatness? It came from the game. I mean, a nigga so elated. We are not cousins, but we brothers and related.
Here's without.
We are so elated.
Now notice without, everything just feels loose and not controlled.
Currency, the hot spitter for show. Riding in the low low for show. Man, have you ever seen greatness? It came from the game. I mean, a nigga so elated. We are not cousins, but we brothers and related. We are so elated. I feel celebrated.
Okay, let's pick another song. So this is 4 songs now. I'm showing you these little things. Now this has a lot of bass in the sides. Again, first step, check the mid side energy. Mid. A lot of mid energy in the lows. A lot of unnecessary low information on the sides. So quickly, we're going to open up the MV. We're going to start off with taming the low end first, but on the side only. Let's go to mid side mode. Pull this to the side. Pull this down like 6 dB. Let's lower that threshold. A lot of energy that we don't really need on the side. So look at the sides, and it's most likely the low end. Whenever you compress that low end on the side, you're going to get a tighter feel to your track. And I can see a lot of energy with the hi-hat here. Let's just see if it's in the mid or side. Somehow it's in the sides, like these artifacts. So let's get rid of that because it just sounds sloppy. Let's pull up the ratio in this case. Let's make it like 8:1. Pull this down. Because all that information doesn't make this track sound better. It just sounds random and artifacty. So let's get rid of all these artifacts on the side. Now this one I think benefits the most from this technique. You can really hear it in this one. So here's without. Alright, let's turn it on. The loop is by MG The Future, by the way. Let's turn this off. I want you to listen to how everything just feels loose and hollow. Now here's with. Also, there's a lot of low end on the mids too, so I would even, let's audition this. I'm bringing in more of the mono. Let's take care of some of that low end. I think it's all the way down. The threshold changes when you open up that mono signal. So that's, I'm going to just wrap it here because that's all I wanted to show you. Whoops. Is how to use a multi-band compressor to take away stuff. Think about taking away stuff more than adding stuff, because once you take away stuff, you give room for the stuff to actually express separately. You separate instruments and separate the sounds. Remember, from 200 to 400 hertz is where a lot of frequencies overlap. And at about 3K to 4K is where you get that harsh, like vocal presence most of the time, or like a hi-hat or some very sheery instrument will usually stack up at 3K to 4K. And you want to take care of that as well. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Go to premium.busyworksbeats.com for free music production courses. I'll leave a link below. It's Game from busyworksbeats.com.